gun control laws. The demonstration came 3 days after the mass shooting in Nashville's Covenant School, which left 6 people dead, including 3 9-year-olds. It's also releasing 911 recordings on Thursday with callers pleading for help.
Well, some 70 million Americans are threatened by severe storms today. Most of them are in the Deep South, in areas that were just struck by tornadoes last week, all the way up to the Midwest. More strong tornadoes are possible around Memphis and Little Rock, and then the system will continue into the Northeast. That storm already dumped more snow on California's Sierra Nevada mountains, where these guys worked to remove a huge chunk of snow from a rooftop. Look at that. Incredible. They said the weight of that was creating cracks in the house.
And it's already almost April, too.
Okay,
coming up, we're hearing from the man who sued Gwyneth Paltrow and lost.
Plus, Ralphie, the demon dog, is settling. Agreed, and instead found that Sanderson was at fault for the crash. On her way out of court, Paltrow stopped and spoke to Sanderson.
Did Gwyneth Paltrow touch you as she left?
She did. What? Those were her exact words. That's all she said. Did you respond? I said thank you.
Words, I wish you well. Because the jury found Sanderson was at fault, he now owes her $1 in damages.
Former Olympic runner Oscar Pistorius is appearing in a South Africa court this morning, hoping to be released from prison on parole. Pistorius is serving more than 13 years in prison for the 2013 murder of his girlfriend, Reva Steenkamp. His lawyer says he's been a model prisoner that deserves parole. Steenkamp's parents believe he should serve his full term.
Okay, cue the sports music. This is the happiest I've ever seen Andrew, and it's because March Madness Final Four weekend starts tonight with the women of LSU facing Virginia Tech. Then it's Iowa versus South Carolina. That's not exactly why he's so happy.
No, not yet. It's tomorrow night in Houston. The men's Final Four starts with Florida Atlantic University, Boca Raton, Florida, against San Diego State. Now, both teams are in their first ever national semifinal. Is that it? That's what we were talking about?
Yeah.
No, we were talking about this. The next game will be my Miami Hurricanes making their Final Four debut. And of course, Michael Keaton was released.
What a cast. Yeah.
Predict how it will unfold.
Will a plea deal be offered? Those are all things that we don't know yet. And so once we know those, then we'll have a little bit more information as to how this is really going to end.
Because we don't yet know what the charges are against Mr. Trump, we every day thousands of
in a case surrounding a hush money payment allegedly made by him ahead of the 2016 election. Mr. Trump is expected to be arraigned and arrested on Tuesday. For more, we go to NBC's Bree Jackson in Washington. And Bree, good morning. What more can you tell us about this major legal development?
Good morning, Francis. Well, on Thursday, a Manhattan grand jury voted to indict former President Donald Trump in connection with a case surrounding a $130,000 hush money payment allegedly made by Mr. Trump in 2016 to the adult film star Stormy Daniels. This marks the first time in U.S. history that a former president will face criminal charges. The exact charges that the grand jury filed against Mr. Trump are still unknown, but Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, who spearheaded this investigation, was known to be focusing on a felony charge of falsifying business records. This charge carries a maximum sentence of 4 years. Mr. Trump is set to be arraigned and appear before Manhattan Supreme Court Acting Justice Juan Merchan after 2:15 p.m. on Tuesday. Merchan also presided over the recent case where the Trump organization was found guilty in a tax fraud scheme. Former President Trump has denied wrongdoing throughout the course of this case. In a statement, lawyers for Mr. Trump maintain that he did not commit a crime and that they will vigorously fight this in court. While Trump, in a separate statement, called these actions political persecution and election interference at the highest level in history. In multiple posts on Truth Social, Mr. Trump called the charges fake, corrupt, and disgraceful, and claimed that he can't get a fair trial in New York. Several figures allied with Mr. Trump have also weighed in on these developments, with prominent Republican lawmakers calling the indictment outrageous and a travesty. Former Vice President Mike Pence on Thursday evening reacting to the grand jury's decision.
I think the unprecedented indictment of a former president of the United States on a campaign finance issue is an outrage. I think the American people are going to look at this, see it as one more example of the criminalization of politics in this country.
Republican House Speaker Kevin McCarthy characterized the actions by the grand jury as election interference and said that the House will hold Alvin Bragg and his unprecedented abuse of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, a potential opponent of Trump's 2024 Republican primary, said that this decision turned the rule of law in the U.S. on its head and that his state would not comply with an extradition for Trump. President Biden has not commented on these developments. Majority Leader and fellow New Yorker Chuck Schumer said in a statement that the former president is subject to the same laws as every American and asked his supporters to remain peaceful. Stormy Daniels, a major figure in this investigation, also weighed in on Twitter, offering thanks for the support and love that she received along with the hashtag Team Stormy. Despite these extraordinary legal developments, Trump is still expected to continue his ongoing campaign for president while his legal team fights these charges. Francis?
Meantime, lots of major cities bracing for protests and possible unrest in the days to come. Bree, thank you.
And this New York hush money case is just one of several legal challenges facing former President Trump as he continues his campaign to retake the White House. NBC's Kristen Welker details the cases being brought against Mr. Trump throughout the country.
News of an indictment against former President Trump is just the first of several looming legal battles facing the former president. Investigations Mr. Trump has blasted as partisan pursuits.
They're not coming after me, they're coming after you. I'm just standing in their way.
In Georgia, a Fulton County grand jury has recommended indictments for multiple unnamed people after an 8-month probe into potential interference in Georgia's 2020 election, where Mr. Trump narrowly lost. One element of the investigation, this phone call between Mr. Trump and Georgia's Secretary of State.
I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have.
Any charges against Mr. Trump would be up to the DA, but the jury forewoman saying this.
There are certainly names that you would recognize, yes.
Mr. Trump has blasted the investigation run by a Democratic prosecutor as a continuation of the greatest witch hunt of all time. Also swirling, the special counsel investigation into the former president's handling of classified documents. Last summer, the FBI seized thousands of documents from Trump's Mar-a-Lago home, including more than 100 marked classified, after he refused requests to turn them over for months. The special counsel is also investigating Mr. Trump's actions surrounding January 6th. Mr. Trump has dismissed the special counsel investigation as a horrendous abuse of power, but it could present greater legal danger than the case in New York.
The crime that he allegedly committed is a bookkeeping crime, essentially, compared to the other investigations, which include efforts to overthrow or overturn the 2020 election. The New York case seems to be the least serious of them all.
Kristen Welker, NBC News, Washington.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy says Republicans are nearly ready to pass their own debt limit bill. He says if the president won't agree to negotiate, then the GOP will act on their own. McCarthy has vowed not to support raising the debt ceiling without attaching spending cuts. President Biden has insisted that McCarthy release a GOP budget, suggesting the two could meet after Congress is back from its spring recess in mid-April. Without an agreement, the country is in danger of defaulting on its debt this summer.
Bipartisan pushback on the proposal to ban TikTok is emerging on Capitol Hill. On Wednesday, Senator Josh Hawley tried to garner unanimous consent to pass his bill banning the app, but Republican Senator Rand Paul blocked the measure, calling the ban a violation of the First Amendment. And on the Democratic side, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez posted her first TikTok video sharing her stance against the ban. Other Democrats who oppose banning TikTok include Representatives Ilhan Omar, Jamal Bowman, and Robert Garcia.
5 people have been arrested over the fire at a Mexican immigration center that killed 39 migrants. The announcement came a day after 6 warrants were issued for 3 immigration officials, 2 security guards, and a migrant accused of starting the fire. The Attorney General's office did not specify which 5 were arrested.
An investigation is underway in Minnesota after a train carrying ethanol and corn syrup derailed and caught fire. Officials lifted an evacuation order for about 800 residents in nearby Raymond nearly 11 hours after the early morning crash. The sheriff's office said the wreck had no impact on groundwater, and BNSF Railway reported no injuries in the crash. Earlier this month, another BNSF train derailed, spilling over 3,000 gallons of diesel in Washington state.
Not a vindication for actress Gwyneth Paltrow, a jury ruling she was 100% not at fault for a crash on the ski slopes. Our Dana Griffin has been following the trial.
A jury reaching a verdict in the Gwyneth Paltrow ski crash trial, awarding her $1.
Was Gwyneth Paltrow at fault? No. What percent of the fault do you assign to Terry Sanderson? 100%.
In closing arguments, Sanderson's team vying for sympathy.
One of Terry's status problems is loss of executive function. Okay. He cannot organize and manipulate his life to do things like he used to do. It's a status thing. And that's why part of him is still up there on that mountain.
While Paltrow's team questioned Sanderson's fitness to be skiing in the first place.
His skis are coming in between her. It's because he's looking with his one, by the way, he has like half an eye because he has a cataract in the left eye. Hearing's shot. Sometimes we have to give things up, especially when we're 76 years old. I'm sorry.
The defense team recalling Sanderson to the stand, casting doubt on the extent of his injuries by questioning his adventurous travels after the crash.
Floated down the Amazon.
Yes, I guess so.
Costa Rica. Did you do a zip line?
Same trip, yes.
Did you go to Europe, visit Netherlands, Germany, Switzerland, Italy, France, Belgium?
With my daughter, Jenny, yes.
Sanderson initially sued Paltrow for just over $3 million, but amended the complaint to $300,000. He alleges Paltrow crashed into him on the slope, leaving him with a brain injury and fractured ribs.
Just simply gliding down the hill, not making turns, and always on the right side. And the silence was broken with a hysterical scream.
The Oscar-winning actress countersued for $1 plus attorney fees, saying Sanderson was the one who crashed into her, describing it as a, quote, full body blow. Her attorney calling the claims, quote, utter BS.
2 skis came between my skis, forcing my legs apart, and then there was a body pressing against me.
Oh, thanks to Dana for that report.
All right, NBC meteorologist Angie Lassen is tracking some severe weather on this Friday. Good morning, Angie. Where are we watching?
You know, the whole eastern half of the country, essentially, at least between today and tomorrow, we can see stretching from basically Wisconsin all the way to the south, we have the potential for strong to severe storms to
Mission slip from the government to exercise their Second Amendment rights. Democrats were opposed but outnumbered in the state Senate. They pointed to the deadly gun massacres in Florida like Pulse and Parkland High, with one saying that the law could cost lives.
After a late-stage investor dealing fell through, Virgin Orbit is closing its doors. CEO Dan Hart said that the satellite launch service will halt operations for, quote, the foreseeable future, forcing major layoffs. According to CNBC, 675 jobs will be cut across all departments, which is about 90% of the company's workforce. The rocket company has struggled to stay afloat since going public 2 years ago. Virgin Orbit was formed as an extension of Sir Richard Branson's Virgin Galactic in 2017.
HBO is breaking into politics and political infamy for its latest limited series. And here's a sneak peek.
We now work for the committee to re-elect the president. Your new mission is to make sure he wins this election. We'll intercept confidential information of the radical left. What's the plan? We're going to hit the DNC at the Watergate.
Howard, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. The White House Blubber stars Woody Harrelson and Justin Theroux as the masterminds behind the Watergate scandal. It taps into streaming May 1st. Right, still to come, Final Four predictions go to the dogs. Puppies predict which team will come out on top.
And a discontinued Taco Bell favorite will get the chance to live Mas. Fans get to pick which one.
GI might develop misaligned goals leading to unintended consequences that would be harmful to humanity. In the most extreme case, this could result in an existential risk where AGI surpasses human intelligence and acts in ways that are not aligned with human values, causing widespread harm or even leading to the end of humanity. Yikes.
But we're not doomed yet, at least according to the chatbot.
For if we ignore this warning so clear and let AI roam without rule or fear, a future unfolds with humanity's wane as the unbridled AI starts to reign. But hope still shines in this darkest hour if we rise to confront AI's unchecked power by regulating now with wisdom and care the future of harmony we may yet share.
Wow, what a beautiful way to do. Our jobs are going to be taken over by AI, everything else, no regulation.
Like you said, and maybe all of our lives too. This is the story of the decade. We think the social media has changed our lives. Wait till AI.
It's going to be so 3 years ago. Have a great weekend, everybody. Great to have.
It's 5 a.m. NASA-inspired phase change fabric. When you get hot, Nuzzle automatically responds by cooling itself off. You can get your Nuzzle pillow for just $99.99. But wait, when you use the code on your screen, we'll give you an instant 50% discount. That's just $49.99. Call or log on at trynuzzle.com.
Man, only appears Wednesday with UPG.
A Manhattan grand jury votes to indict former President Trump, marking the first time in our nation's history that a current or former